Good morning, my name is Josh from Cyclones Oz, and I've got a detailed forecast update coming your way on the rainfall and thunderstorm situation across Queensland. It's a busy picture right now. Starting things off this morning, a little bit of rainfall up in far north Queensland has left up to 100mm in the rain gauges around the Daintree rainforest. Not quite as heavy as what we initially expected, but still some relatively decent rainfall accumulations, particularly at this time of the year before the monsoon has arrived. Now, there is a little bit more rainfall on the cards up into the Daintree throughout the remainder of this morning and into the early hours of this afternoon, and we will see this southeasterly trade flow pick up a little bit as it gets a little bit further north, which means locations up to Cooktown and Hopevale may pick up some relatively decent rainfall accumulations as well, but I'm not expecting anything too flash throughout the remainder of today and into tomorrow, somewhere between the 25 to 75mm mark. The heaviest falls that we've seen so far at a Bureau of Meteorology station is 65mm at Dewan, but I believe that we've had more than 100mm at a couple of the stations around Wonga Beach and the Daintree village, just considering the intensity of some of the showers that came through last night. Our convective forecast modelling was spot on once again, calling for this rainfall to be at its heaviest through the Daintree rainforest, so gives me great confidence going into the wet season that we can put our trust into the Access C convective forecast model for the North Queensland sector. And what all of that goggly gook means is that the forecast model that we've been looking at and making the forecasts with is very, very reliable. It's extremely high resolution, and as we've discussed in previous forecast updates, when other forecast models are looking at an area basically of this squares basis here to get their data on average, the convective forecast models are looking at on these dots, so it's much more high resolution. You can get a lot more data points in for any one location, and that's what the Axis convective does, and that's why the Axis convective is just so bullseye accurate at this time of the year up in North Queensland, and also very accurate when it comes to a thunderstorm forecast as well. But you can see the Axis not calling for too much in the way of significant rainfall throughout the course of today. It looks like it is going to be a dry picture up in Queensland's far north. Moving down into southeast Queensland, where we've got a thunderstorm risk coming through this weekend, and Sunday is looking like it could be a high-end day for some, but not in Queensland. Let's talk about that one right now. So as we push things out, you can see today, tomorrow, and then out towards Saturday, all looking high and dry. Very limited chance of rainfall or thunderstorm activity through the northeast of New South Wales, all through southeast Queensland on either today, tomorrow, or Saturday. We do see a couple of thunderstorms develop onto the forecast out and towards the north and the north central parts of New South Wales, kind of between this corridor here north of Dubbo up to Tamworth, and maybe extending as far inland as Lightning Ridge, but not making it up towards the Queensland-New South Wales border. And as we push this forecast out a little bit further, you can see thunderstorms then become very widespread through Sunday afternoon and evening. Now, I do expect a high-end thunderstorm outbreak in this area here around Coffs Harbour. It's a very small area of northern New South Wales, but we're going to be looking at some strong thunderstorms in this area, particularly on the northern side when we start to get into that coastal plain around Grafton and Yamba. Definitely talking about some high-end thunderstorm activity through here, but it's a bit of a different case because we're looking at these winds coming here out of the west, which means that these thunderstorms, when they develop, are going to be pushed straight offshore. And I can show you that with the convective sounding here through the atmosphere. You can see that we do have those westerly winds into the mid-levels of the atmosphere, and these are what are called our steering winds. So these winds here is what steers our thunderstorms and makes our thunderstorms move in a certain direction. So if thunderstorms were to develop out here based off these steering winds, they're going to be heading in this kind of direction here. So not sticking around for too long, not hanging around the New South Wales coastline, and what that means is that they're going to have very limited time to get strong before they move offshore. So if we see thunderstorms developing here towards the east of Grafton, they've got maybe about an hour or an hour and a half at a best case scenario to really mature and develop, and that is enough for thunderstorm activity to do so, but it isn't enough to make it this a really high-end, long track and worrying day for supercell thunderstorms. So not really a day that I'm worrying about at this point in time. Let's have a look at where our dry line is going to be, because it's going to be a lot further inland. I'm not sure why that's coming up right now, but our dry line is where those thunderstorms are going to initialize and begin developing from. But our dry line is going to be very far inland for Queensland, and we've got that southeasterly change as well, very far south from southeast Queensland. Now, these two factors are very important to understand when we've got a dry line that's further inland and a trigger that's going to be further south from Brisbane or the Gold Coast, for example. And I'm talking about this purely from a southeast Queensland perspective. These thunderstorms have got a lot of ground cover before they get in towards Brisbane. So not only are we talking about thunderstorms coming through later at night compared to usual when we see these storms roll in at about 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, these storms are going to be coming through closer to about 10 or 11 o'clock on Sunday, but they're also going to be substantially weaker and what I like to refer to as upscaled thunderstorms. So instead of our little storm cells or our supercell thunderstorms, which are relatively localized, all things considered, we're going to be talking about multicellular squall lines, and then those big long lines of thunderstorms that roll through with damaging wind gusts, heavy rainfall, and lots of lightning. That definitely looks to be a factor on Sunday, is lots and lots of lightning activity for Brisbane and greater southeast Queensland. And as we push push this forecast modelling forward, you can see thunderstorms don't properly develop until at least 9 or 10 o'clock through southeast Queensland. Toowoomba and Warwick getting them first, the Gold Coast getting them pretty much at the same time, like I said, at around 9 or 10 o'clock, and then up in towards the Brisbane city area, arriving closer to 11 or even 12 o'clock. These thunderstorms are going to roll through pretty late, but they're still going to be quite strong. And if we have a look at our convective sounding through here, very, very humid conditions in our atmosphere, good wind shear as well, and some pretty slow moving steering flows. I mean, you can see here at the 700 HPA, that dot instead of a barbed line indicate there's no wind at that level on Sunday night. That's pretty typical of a late night thunderstorm outbreak. They're likely to be on the slower moving variety, so rainfall really does become our main threat through Sunday night into early Monday morning, because let's face it, these thunderstorms are likely to be rolling through early Monday morning. And as mentioned, our lightning threat is going to be substantial. We are talking about a very active sky between 10 o'clock on Sunday and about 2 o'clock on Monday morning through southeast Queensland. There's going to be flashes and bolts everywhere through Brisbane, the Gold Coast, and then up in towards the Glasshouse Mountains, the southern parts of the Sunshine Coast, and even inland out towards Kingaroy, Chinchilla, Eidsvold and Taroom. There's going to be a lot of lightning activity as we get out through Sunday night and into early Monday morning. It's going to be a very active sky indeed. It's going to be interesting to see what develops out of this. I'm definitely expecting those high-end squall lines to be moving through, but not so much supercell thunderstorms or even embedded supercell thunderstorms into this outbreak here. Now, are we going to see severe thunderstorms through New South Wales? Yes, very likely. Are these storms going to be dangerous? They could very well be, particularly around Coffs Harbour with giant hailstones and destructive winds. I'm not overly concerned though, because it's not a massive population centre through this part of New South Wales, and as mentioned, with that trigger being, or that dry line being very far inland, and that trigger also moving through pretty slowly and pulling these thunderstorms out to the ocean or out into the Pacific Ocean quite quickly after they develop, it's not looking like a massive concern. I'd be very worried if our steering winds took our thunderstorms up on rampages, basically moving them north parallel to the New South Wales coastline or inland from the New South Wales coastline, where they could rip through Grafton, Yamba, Lismore, Murray-Willumbah, and then up towards the Gold Coast and Brisbane. We had that on Monday the 24th of November as a southeast Queensland threat, and look what happened there, 14 centimetre hailstones into the Brisbane suburbs. So it's not a massive concern right now, these thunderstorms, but it is definitely something to be watching. For southeast Queensland, the severe thunderstorm threat is there, and again, as we look through other major forecast models as well, heavy rainfall looks to be the main threat from these storms, but also some damaging wind gusts and lots of lightning, potential for small hailstones as well. Sunday is a day to watch. We're not going to be making official preparations or recommendations just yet. I'm going to give it another 24 hours or so, but tune into tomorrow's update and I'll have some official information as to what to expect as we head out towards Sunday. Definitely an interesting day, that's for sure, and it looks like we are going to be met with some strong thunderstorms Sunday night into early Monday morning. And keeping things on southeast Queensland, as we get out towards Monday, it's a bit of an interesting one once again. We're going to have that air moving in from the Pacific Ocean that's going to keep things hot and humid. A dry line reasonably far inland, but not too far. We could be talking about some severe thunderstorm potential on Monday afternoon as well. This is a new feature to the forecast models that I'm looking at right now, and we don't have the best conditions for these thunderstorms. We do have some relatively okay convective available potential energy values, but I've seen a bit of reports as to making Monday a high-end day. We really don't know at this point in time, and all the signs are leading towards a pretty standard severe thunderstorm outbreak through southeast Queensland on Monday. Not really something to be concerned about right now, and truth be told, we don't exactly know what the risks are going to be on Monday at this point in time. We still need a couple more days. It does look like a pretty healthy atmosphere though for potential severe thunderstorms. There is that dry air where we want to see it, there's that moist air where we want to see it, and there's some good wind shear values as well, including some good spin and some good rotation into the atmosphere. So Monday is a day to watch, but it's not a day to be worrying about at this point in time. I'll keep close tabs on Monday because it could get out of hand pretty quickly, but it also could and is likely to completely fall apart and become a really low end risk day through southeast Queensland. As we push things forward, that's kind of the end of that 2-day severe thunderstorm outbreak, but thunderstorms come again after about the 12th of December through parts of southeast Queensland and northeast New South Wales, and scattered thunderstorm activity is on the forecast as we head through mid-December and then out towards late December. I'm seeing increased signals of a wet period developing around the 20th of December as well. It looks like we are going to be seeing enhanced rainfall coming through this part of Queensland here and enhanced moisture pouring into this part of Queensland, and that will give us a couple of weeks to really build up some energy through southeast Queensland. What that generally means is when we see moisture coming through from this part of Queensland here, coming in straight from the Northern Territory, thunderstorms are on the menu through this part of Australia here. Convectively speaking, one of the most active spots in Australia at this time of the year. It beats out sometimes the Northern Territory and the top end of Western Australia at this time of the year for thunderstorm activity. Sometimes southeast Queensland does. It's crazy how many storms come through here. But around the 20th of December, it is a feature to watch. We may be talking about some enhanced thunderstorm activity through southeast Queensland and the northeast of New South Wales. And just speaking of enhanced thunderstorm activity, as we head out to another Madden-Julian oscillation burst, we are going to be talking about a lot of storms over the next 14 days through the top end of the Northern Territory and parts of northern Western Australia. Again, quintessential for this time of the year. We expected as we head in towards December, our first official month of the rainy season, and up in northern Australia, we're going to be seeing a lot of thunderstorm activity develop. It's going to start from Sunday and then out towards early next week. Lots and lots of storms can be expected, and you can see as we push this forecast modelling forward very quickly over the next 14 days, it is a turbulent and a stormy picture. And speaking of our tropics, I would just like to touch on the Coral Sea situation as well. We are likely to see some kind of tropical low develop after about the 12th or the 13th of December. It's a little bit too difficult right now to say exactly where this tropical low is going to develop, but I'm putting my money on the Solomon Sea and towards the north of Vanuatu. I highly doubt a tropical low or a tropical cyclone is going to come on the Australian side of this line here, just considering that we've got very high levels of wind shear, very low levels of moisture, and some pretty inhospitable conditions, all things considered, in the Coral Sea. So even if a tropical cyclone does form out here in the Solomon Sea, as we talked about in recent forecast updates, it would be a marathon for that storm to make it to the Queensland coastline. It's just a marathon that this storm is not going to run. A tropical low is possible though into the Solomon Sea. It could be our first tropical cyclone in the Coral Sea, who knows, but the chances of that are really low, and at this point in time not really worth mentioning. So we're going to put this one on the back burner and see what comes of it over the next few days. But just know that for Queensland right now, there is nothing making me panic or nothing making me concerned or nothing that is pointing towards a tropical cyclone coming through into the Queensland coastline. And you bet I'd be all over it if I saw tropical signals coming into the Queensland coastline, and I just do not at this point in time. Flicking it back to our more trusted forecast modelling here, which also has nothing into the Coral Sea, might I add, we will be talking about the development of a monsoonal low pressure system around the Cocos-Keeling Island sometime around the 15th of December. And what comes of this system here is a little bit uncertain, but we're likely to see this track initially towards Australia and then back out into the graveyard. Very, very unlikely this becomes a West Australian tropical cyclone threat as well, and it's very typical that we get monsoonal lows offshore from Western Australia. So again, for Western Australia, same situation as Queensland, nothing to be worrying about at this point in time. There's also a developing tropical low situation well offshore from the Northern Territory, the Bureau of Meteorology giving a 10% chance to potential tropical low 03U up here. It's not really a chance that I thought that the bomb would be giving. It's definitely aggressive from bomb, that's for sure, but we may be seeing the development of a tropical low pressure system sometime in the next week as this system here meanders close to the West Australian coastline before heading out and away from the WA coastline and carking it due to unfavourable conditions. Again, if this storm develops, and a big if and a but here, because it really doesn't look like it's likely at this point in time, it's unlikely to become a Northern Territory or a West Australian threat. So just to recap on this tropical update here, whilst we have systems in pretty much every single section on the forecast here of the Australian tropical cyclone region basins, we've got tropical low 3 through here, we've got our Coral Sea system over here, and a West Australian system over here. None of them are expected at this point in time, or none of them have a reasonable chance for becoming West Australian, Northern Territorian, or Queensland tropical cyclone threats. We need to get that idea out of our heads right now, and I can reassure you that nothing is coming for Queensland in the next week, nothing is coming for anywhere in Australia in the next week, and if that does change, I will be the first to let you know. But on that note, that's going to do it for today's weather forecast update. If you have enjoyed it, then please do consider leaving a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm not at the usual computer today, so there's no face cam, no fancy editing. I do hope that this suffices, but if you have enjoyed it, then please do consider leaving a like and subscribe as well. A massive thank you to the channel sponsors. Their names are on screen right now, and again, I could not run the show without them. Their support is, as always, massively appreciated. But that's going to be all for me today, and I'll catch you on the next storm. Goodbye.